Okay, so I think everything is okay now. I think, but we'll see. I just sent out a remind with the link to this video, and so we'll see if anybody joins. In the meantime, I'll just kind of yak it up. Oh, there's somebody in the room, so clearly it works. Okay, so I'm doing it right. I'm going to also try out typing a comment on the side and see if this works. Here is a comment. You can ask questions here or email, and I'll check while streaming and answer from your emails. Okay, so we'll see if that worked. Oh, there was somebody in the room and then they left. Oh, someone's back in the room. So maybe that worked. And there may not be anybody else who is interested and maybe feel confident and comfortable with tomorrow's essay, in which case we're all good to go. But if you do have questions, I'll go over a few things here. Again, if you want to ask questions during the live stream, even if you kind of are coming in late and you're just watching the first part of this, while I'm live streaming, at least you can send an email, or if you can see a chat, mine's over on the side over there. My little chat thing is there. You could ask a question or type something there. And if you don't have anything, that's fine too. Last year when we did this, there was also a way that I could like flip the screen around. And we're gonna see if that will work or not. Let's see what pop-out chat does. Oh, that seems like something else. That's not it. Well, in either case, I'll just try to talk you through it as best I can if we have some questions. So what does that do? No, that's the embedding thing. All right, well, okay, so tomorrow you have our timed writing, and just to go over some of the details of that, it's going to be over our prompt that you had for the summer writing. In theory, you should have one of the paragraphs probably already outlined, and hopefully today, if you don't have a second, you should probably have a second paragraph outlined as well. And let me see, sorry, I'm checking here to see if I guess not. You should have a second paragraph as well that you're making today. So I wanted to reiterate just a few comments on the essay while we're waiting for comments to come in or questions to come in. And again, we may have done such a great job of preparing ourselves on the day of the essay that maybe there aren't any questions now. And if that's so, then wonderful. So I'm going to stop yapping and in a second here start actually talking about things that matter. Again, if you have questions, send an email. It's womacm@fultonschools.org. Or if you're able to type a comment in on the chat part of this video, I don't know what it looks like on your end, but for the live streaming, you can always type in a question and I'll see it, at least if it works, and I can answer your question that way. So for the claim, remember there are three parts of a claim, and the claim you write just like you write the thesis. The thesis is going to be, though, that one sentence introduction. It's just a one sentence introduction. And you could, while you can't bring that to class prepared and written, you can't bring any of your claims already written down. For our essay, you will only be able to bring in your evidence that you're going to use and in your book. You will have the opportunity, I guess, today to kind of memorize or think about what you want to write for that claim and write it out in your brain. You can kind of remember what you wanted to say, and that'll save you a few minutes time when it comes to the actual essay. So for the thesis, the first sentence, the one sentence introduction, you'll state those three parts, the who or the what, which will likely include your character and perhaps if you're choosing geographical, cultural, or physical, which are mentioned in the prompt, it might mean your who or your what might mention those items. And you probably want to argue that they shape the character in some way, and you'll want to decide what way it is that they're shaped. And in your third part, when explaining why that matters, you'll relate it to probably the overall part of the book where the character has changed. Maybe they developed, maybe they transformed in some way, or how are they changed characters around them, something like that. So your third part will likely include that. And then after you write your introduction, which is that one sentence, then you'll go into your body paragraph 1, and the body paragraph 1 will, sorry, I'm trying to check email while I'm doing this. Oh no, not responding. Your body paragraph 1 will start off with the claim, that who or the what, the argumentative phrase, and the why it matters. And then after that, you'll go into some context for your quote. And remember, when you weave in the quote, there are a few ways you can do that. You can start off your paragraph with the context. So, Pai Patel is on the boat and, quote, is hungry because he hasn't eaten for days. You can start off with the quote, he hadn't eaten for days and was hungry, sat Pai Patel thinking as he was floating along. The third way is to, as Pai, quote, sat on the boat, end quote, he began to, quote, become very hungry, end quote. You can weave it into the middle, or you can take several small snippets and kind of weave them throughout. It's up to you. But make sure you do have that, and the documents for that are on my website, and you're welcome to look at them. I'm trying to see, I had a question that came to me in my email. Sorry, pardon me while I log in and answer those questions. And there are some questions. So I will answer your question, Lauren. I see your email, and Sid has an email, and Tracy and Nikhil has an email. And Majestic Snow Leopard, I don't know who that is, said the link doesn't work, but it does work because here it is. Oh, Majestic Snow Leopard. Let's see if that works. Okay. So then we're getting into our body paragraph, where you've got your evidence. And remember that evidence really does need to be like key, central, important to the quote. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, to the claim, if the quote doesn't directly support the claim, then we're in some problems. I think also it's important to remember that your quote can't just be a random line from the book. Even if you're talking about a character developing because of their surroundings, and you say they're on the boat and that's the surrounding, that may not necessarily be the best quote that you can choose, because I think sometimes we fall into the camp of just picking a quote as quickly as we can and then moving on. You've got this time to find it ahead of time, so you need to make sure that your quote is the quote, the best quote. So then we get to the analysis, and this is where I think most of us struggle the most, and where we'll struggle the most this year, but we'll continue to work on that. So if you remember, there were 3 columns, and I wish I could remember how to flip my screen in this video so that I could show you that document, but I don't remember how to do that. No, probably not that. Well, so if you can remember in your mind, we have the say, mean, matter. The mean, I want to talk about the mean first, and what the mean is, and what it's for. So the mean is where you are interpreting the quote that you've selected, that evidence. You're interpreting what it means literally, like what is it saying in your own words. You're rephrasing that. And that's probably a sentence or maybe 2. And then you'll spend another sentence, or perhaps 2, or more if you need it, where you are specifically addressing the quote. So in that say, mean, matter box, that middle column, the mean, that's where you're specifically addressing what the quote means. And you're only talking about the quote. So you're focusing on a few words, or you're focusing on the time that the quote is being spoken, or perhaps you are focusing on the person to whom the quote is being delivered, but it's specific to that quote. And once you've spent, a total of 2 to maybe 4 or 5 sentences talking about the mean, that transitions you then into the matter. So the matter is the overall importance of that quote, probably in terms of how it relates to the prompt, and not probably, but for sure, how it relates to the prompt, specifically identifying where this quote is essential as another quote may not be, where it shows the character's development, focusing on that geographical or that physical or the cultural background to that character. So the mean, again, is directly related to that one quote. The matter is the quote, but also the larger book, how it plays a part in the larger story and what its importance is in the larger story. So now that I've said those things, and the conclusion is just 2 or 3 sentences where you are wrapping up. You're restating, not in the exact same words, but you're restating in some way your thesis statement using new words and a new order and saying those things. So there were some questions that have come in on email, and I'll answer those questions. So Nikhil first. Nikhil, the live streaming is right now. So there goes that question. Tracy wanted to ask a question about thesis and claims. Does the thesis have to be complex sentence? It needs to be complex in that it's written like with the 3 parts. I don't know if that question means, does it need to have like the 3-pronged thesis like you do in your history courses? It should not have that, if that's what you mean by complex. But a 1-sentence claim that has the who or the what, the argumentative phrase, and the why it matters, I would say that is a complex sentence. You're developing that, but the thesis, as opposed to the body claim 1 or body claim 2, the thesis is a little bit broad. You don't want to specifically name what your geographical example is or what your cultural example or physical example is. So I hope that helps in dealing with the complex sentence. For that, the claim should be specific to, you're writing specifically about one incident in the boat, in the boat if you're talking about Pi, or if you're talking about A Long Way Gone, then maybe it's specifically in Sierra Leone, and then in another chapter, maybe in another paragraph, maybe you're writing about the United Nations trip into the United States that Ishmael takes, or if it's a man called Uva, you might be writing about the surrounding of his home, living with his father, and then in another paragraph you're talking about the life with his wife and how those shape him. The claims are specifically addressing those moments, but your matter in the mean and matter can address the entire topic, or the entire chapter, entire book, larger than just the quote. I hope that answers your question. If not, Tracy, go ahead and email back and I'll make sure I respond tonight. Sid asked about the essay cheat sheet, if he could write the thesis and some additional quotes on the sheet. And the answer to that is no. All you can come prepared with, other than in your mind what you've outlined and what you've kind of prepared for yourself, on that cheat sheet are the quotes. Just have the quotes written down, and then you're more than welcome to know what you want to write for the claim when you come into class, but that shouldn't really be on there. Sid also asks, what's the difference between the what it means and the why it matters? The what it means specifically refers to addressing the quote. What does it mean? What does that one quote mean? And the why it matters is addressing the overall idea of the essay. The whole book can be used in the why it matters. The what it means is specific to the quote. Why it matters can address the quote, but it needs to address the entire book. Lauren asks if we should, as the writers, include 1 or 2 pieces of evidence in each body paragraph. I think that's a great question. All you definitely have to do is 1. And this will be probably the only essay where you only have to have 1 piece of evidence. So just a CEA paragraph. That's all you have to have. Going forward on other essays, you will need to have more than one quote. And that one quote is why on the essay cheat sheet, it just has, space for 2 total quotes because you're writing 2 total paragraphs. So later on, we'll add more on the first essay when you're writing in a time setting and you may be feeling uncomfortable or nervous. Just one quote each is all you have to have. So those are the only essay questions that I have as of yet. I don't know if anybody wants to add any more, sending in an email or if they will message. The Majestic Snow Leopard, whoever that was, hopefully their message, their YouTube streaming works. I tried to reply again with the link. I don't know if it worked though. We'll see if it did. Okay. The other thing that I was thinking about in terms of this essay that might be important to remember is while you did share your thoughts, your quotes, your ideas with others in the class, I don't want you to feel like you have to use those quotes. You might find something better. Somebody, I forget which period it was. I think it was in 5th period. And maybe I shared this with 6th. They had found a quote after they had discussed with their group that almost directly dealt with, I think it was in Life of Pi, religion and maybe God relating to geography or something like this. Certainly choose the quote that is appropriate to you. Oh, look, Majestic Snow Leopard replied and said, it does. Good. I'm glad the link works. So perfect. So that was the other thing. I wanted to make sure that you knew you could change your quotes. You could change your outline from the what you turned in on turnitin.com. Again, the point of the turnitin.com assignment was so that you would have some ideas when you came into class. Excuse me. I need coffee. Have some ideas when you came into class, and also to hold you accountable, to make sure that you had actually read the text, which some of you may not have, but that was the idea. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else that I should include or say or tell you about. In the last time we did this last year, there were many more questions. And so I felt like I needed to take more time to talk about things, but we spent an entire week talking about it, so I feel like we've got it down. So I'll wait a few more minutes and fill time by talking to you. And then it's 17 minutes and 18, no, it's almost 18 minutes now. So at 20 minutes, so in 2 minutes, if there aren't any other questions or if there isn't any other information, then I'll end it for today. And that'll be it. So if your questions have been answered, or if you don't have anything else you want to ask and you're watching this video afterwards, or if you are on right now and you're viewing it and you want to end, there's no reason that you have to stay. I would also remind you that the writing materials that we've had in class that we've used are on my website, and you are definitely welcome to go and review those. The thesis and claims document is there, embedding quotes document is there, Say Me Matter is there. The video that I created for claims, it's right below those. Oh, no, don't click. No, not hello. That is on there as well. You can watch it, as is the PowerPoint, the Google Slides PowerPoint thing that has the voice and claims information that we talked about. Is there anything else that maybe is important? Oh, Stella asked a question. How long do we have to write the essay? So the in-class essay is normally it'll be about 42 minutes. We will extend that a little bit because it's the first essay, but I mean really just a little bit. It'll be 45 minutes that you'll write the essay in, and that will be almost all of class. I know class is 59 minutes, but by the time we get in, we'll take a few questions before the essay begins and talk about a few things. And then we'll start the clock, and it'll just be about 45 minutes. If if we have time for 47 minutes, I'll allow those last 2 minutes, but I would like you to have a pretty good feel for what it's like to write in a time setting. And that time 45 comes from the AP Lang exams when you have to write 3 essays in a couple of hours. It turns out to be about, 40 minutes per essay, 42 minutes per essay. So you have 45 minutes to write it. But of course, for this essay, you'll have access to your books and your quotes will already be selected. Anything else I need to think of? I think that's it. So I'll check my email one more time. No more questions in there. Okay, here's a question on the side. For future timed writings, will we have the quote ahead of time? Sometimes you will have the quote ahead of time. Sometimes you won't. So the beginning of the year, we start off a little easier and it gets a little harder and progressively harder. And at the end of the year, you won't know what the question even is until you walk in the door. And so you won't really have access to the quotes. But for this semester, that's not something you need to worry about. So we have 2 timed writings this semester and 2 timed writings next semester, as well as a process paper, like a full take-home paper, and then first semester and 1 second semester. But I think that's it. Okay, well, so I'm now at 21 minutes and 30 seconds, and I don't really know if there are any other questions. I'll check email one more time, nothing there. And if there are no more questions in that little chat thing on the room, then I'll assume all of our questions have been answered. I'm going to send out the link to this. I think I can embed it on my website. That's what I did last time. The one thing about this live stream, it was slightly different. It was a different format. And when I tried to do it this year, it said I had to get YouTube approval first, and it would take 24 hours. So then I found this way to do it, and I don't really know what I did last time, but I could flip the camera, and it was just different. Anyways, so I'll see if I can embed this on my website. And if anybody wants to know, nothing super valuable, I don't think, in this one, because I think we've talked about all this stuff. But if you have questions, let me know. So bring pencil or pen and paper to class tomorrow. I would have 3 or 4 sheets so that you can mess up and start again if you want, or you can scribble some ideas down before you begin, kind of plan and organize a little bit more. But probably for the most part, you're ready to go. So, all right. Well, that's going to be it for this session. Be well, do good work, make a difference in the world. Bye.